In Cambria, a town of just 6,200 residents, more than 660 property owners are on a water wait list. There's been a moratorium on new hookups for 11 years, as officials have pursued a new water supply source, including a desalination plant to make drinking water from seawater. The city of Santa Cruz and Soquel Creek Water District are also pursuing desalination, a move that has drawn critics just like in Cambria.
Inputs from the technicians and the technical folks as well, and in a sense that does explain why some of the criteria was selected.
Cambria has no intake or outfall pipelines today. We have what's called biosolids dewatering, so our sewage basically it doesn't go back out into the ocean. It's spread into a percolation pond, and we don't have the need for outfall pipes. We don't have intake pipelines. With desalination, we'd have to be installing intake and outfall pipelines into these pristine ocean areas that include the Morro Bay Sanctuary, the Sea Otter Game Refuge, the Cambria State Marine Park, the White Rock Conservation Area. These are marine protected areas in addition to just highly sensitive coastal environment with a small village. I mean, we're only a town of 6,000 people. If you take away the 602 supposed acre feet that we needed and get back down to something more reasonable, 50 acre feet, 100 acre feet, all these other alternatives exist.
So in retrospect, I probably wouldn't talk about it. But I have it. It appears that the burden of this desal plant that is built will go on a lot of them, which it probably should. And this is going to benefit the whole community. My wife and I, we bought this beautiful lot as a retirement lot 8 years ago. At the time, there was a moratorium in place on building, but supposedly they had a plan to build a desalination plant, and they had gotten a $10.3 million appropriation from Congress to get it started. So that all sounded good to us. We didn't know about the politics of the area. We didn't know about the infighting and all of the roadblocks that were going to be thrown in the way. Here we are 8 years later, we get to pay our taxes, we get to maintain our lot, make sure the weeds are down, all for the benefit of this community. What do we get out of it? We get to wait and see and wait and see. It's become very frustrating. We could not sell this property for anywhere near what we paid for it. And so us, along with over 600 other people, are sitting on this list waiting for something to happen. And it's been one of the most frustrating experiences of my entire life. I don't think I'll ever be able to build a house here, but we are hopeful that it may happen.
A short drive down the coast from Cambria, Morro Bay was one of the first California cities to build a desalination plant while facing a serious drought in the mid-1990s. The facility has been rarely used since Morro Bay voters opted to join the State Water Supply Project.
At the time, our desal plant was only half the capacity it is now. So we didn't have enough there to really do 100%. As I said, this was a vote of the people thing. The people overwhelmingly said, bring state water, because we're sick of not being able to wash our cars and having to only water our gardens on Tuesday and Saturday. Being penalized if we use too much water. We all had to register. I've got 5 kids, so we had great water allotment, but if you were a bachelor or just a couple, you only got that much water. We had to literally go to City Hall and register how many children I had living at home. So they got a population of our house, and therefore we got a bigger lot.
While the plant was retrofitted to treat salty groundwater in recent years, critics want the city to better manage the quality of the water it already has before bringing its seawater plant back online.
One of the things is that state water we know that it's limited, and moving water around is very energy intensive. Let's take a look and fix our sustainable or once sustainable drinking water aquifers first, okay? Let's deal with that first and address water reclamation. The issue is to address your drinking water aquifers first before you venture off into, a desal.
Okay.
That would be like number one.
Yeah.
Behind you see this saltwater reverse osmosis system. Primarily this is an emergency water supply for us. We maintain it for purposes of having a supply during drought or emergency. Basically it's for redundancy purposes. We don't run it frequently or often because of the high cost, but it is good to have to make sure that you can meet the water demands of your community. We haven't ran it since 2005. We have some issues that we want to make sure that we can reliably operate it. So we could turn it on at a moment's notice and get both facilities, the brackish system that we have and then the saltwater system operating at the same time. And with that and then emergency measures, we could pretty much ensure that kind of regardless of circumstances, we could meet the base supplies from Morro Bay. Over 90% of the water that we consume comes from the State Water Project. In recent years, the reliability of that has been set back by some judicial decisions and some resource issues. So for us it's important, and the agencies that are relying on state water, I think all of them are looking to their local supplies and securing and perfecting those. Basically as redundancy or reliability measures for the State Water Project. I think because it's been here so long and it's been built so long, this isn't really a hot button community issue. It hasn't been in my time, 5 years here. We've had pretty good sort of elected official support. It's never really been a problem, or it hasn't been a hot issue.
But now the California Coastal Commission is investigating the Morro Bay facility. It needs the agency's approval to bring its seawater component back online to supplement the unreliable state water. In Santa Cruz, where the city and Soquel Creek Water District also want to build a desalination plant, critics like those in Morro Bay wish the agencies would instead live with the water they've got.
Need to balance water and growth. And so when I got into politics, growth was the big issue. And the environmental impacts of growth per se, we were the fastest growing county in the state, and I think it was the 5th fastest growing county in the United States. Very, very fast growing. And so the impacts of growth, not necessarily on streams and rivers, but that was true too, but on everything was a big public issue. And so the idea of living within the resources and balancing the resources with growth, as opposed to having growth drive the resources, that was a big theme, and it was certainly one I embraced personally, that we ought to try to live within our natural resources, as opposed to deciding that the kind of growth that was just happening to us was what we took for granted, and then we would just have to, find a way to supply that growth with the resources needed.